Hello. So this video is about ethical dilemmas and decision making. The ethical dilemma that I chose was the dilemma concerning uh, going to a Black Lives Matter rally. Um, and I am a social worker employed at a local public mental health agency, an assistant table called Social Workers for Social Justice, providing water snacks to those who were marching. A client sees them from the agency they work for during a live TV interview with someone, and the client is requesting a new worker as they do not like the social worker getting mixed up in politics. Get an email from your supervisor requesting a meeting about a client complaint. Uh, Funny enough, this has happened at my agency. I was not the person that was actually emailed. I was the person that got the client from the previous social worker. So first, like with research and an ethical decision making, there's questions that you can ask yourself, such as like, to what extent did my personal values or philosophies influence the preferred choice of action? Um, there's an option. I was aware of my personal biases or preferences and attempted to keep these from unduly influencing the outcome, or I had not considered it to the extent to which my personal values may have influenced the ultimate decision. So, here in this case, I think about if it was me, clearly there was no intention of being politically driven. It's just part of, in this case, the social worker's duty and involvement in social justice. Um, so ethically, I don't see where the problem lies. The social worker did not get up and interview and talk in the interview about their personal views, biases, or anything like that. They were just there helping and supporting a rally in which consequently was the Black Lives Matter movement. So, um, in our research, it states that there's a lot of decision making that social workers have to deal with when it comes to ethical dilemmas. And I feel too that this day and age, like social workers, anybody in the world are going to be scrutinized for whatever decision they actually make. I also look at it as a social worker. We're there for the social part, right? Like we are helping communities that are less fortunate. We are helping people who are subdued to barriers constantly all the time, and being and feeling like let down or left out, or like they're constantly struggling. And I feel that is like the main reason why we get into social work, and that is to help those in need. And at this point in time, the social worker in this instance use uses rallies and helping people at these rallies, not necessarily speaking about their personal views, um, should not be something that would ultimately get the therapist, social worker in trouble. Um, if they were to be talking about their personal views, political views, anything like that, then there would be more of a reason, and probably a more heavier conversation about personal biases and ethical dilemmas when working in a community agency, and then also serving on community events that people will probably see us at. Um, With that being said, also, the supervisor may ask them to consider, what they do in their spare time, and how it might reflect. And, but I also don't think that this particular situation, has much ground to be considered ethically wrong. Um, but so in the instance of the case at my work, I will just share because this is kind of why I feel like I chose this one. Um, my supervisor had asked me to take a client, um, because they were upset with their current social worker, therapist being, uh, a right wing political, um, person. However, it was said. And the client is a transgender female. Um, and although the therapist she was working with did not state what her political, viewpoints or values or stances were, this client decided to take offense, to this therapist for whatever reason. I know this therapist personally, and she is the sweetest person, non judgmental person. And I highly doubt she sat there and told her political views because those aren't even her political views because I know her. So in essence, like, I guess what the fact of the matter is clients and people are going to assume, or they are going to take offense to certain things. But in this case, the client or the therapist was not projecting any sort of his viewpoint, political values, anything like that. Just being helpful in the social community because he's a social worker. That's how I feel about it, and I'm curious to see what you think.